Hi, John.
Good evening.
Hey, Rick.
Hi, Bill. How are you?
I'm doing all right. How about
Good.
yourself?
How's that ankle doing?
60% and getting better.
Attaboy. Good. Are you walking around on it, or how is that going?
Oh, yeah. I'm on the stairs without any problem and working on squats and lunges right now. And it's was actually had PT today, and he said it's doing great.
Great. Good, Bill. Yeah, that's good news.
It's 6 to 9 months, you know.
It's a long healing process, yeah, and it's slow going.
I'm up for it.
Good.
I got no choice.
Yeah.
The good news is I've lost 14 pounds. since
Oh,
this
good.
all
That's
started.
great. Yeah, it's great. Yeah.
I was either going to get fat in the process or lose weight, you know.
You lost weight. It's good. Okay, we got Matt Clark. John, it looks like we've got a quorum.
Good.
Okay, we're already recording, so whenever you want, you can call it.
Oh, thank you. Okay. So this is the September 14th, 2022 Economic Development Commission meeting. Call to order. We have Bill Rankin is here, Matt Clark, and Richard Maloney. Is there anybody else here that I can't see that might be on the phone, John? Cheryl or Sam?
Sure. There's C. Mitchell is on.
Yeah,
Oh.
I'm here.
Oh, hi,
I'm
Cheryl.
here, Rick. Hi.
Oh, great. Good to see you. Well, I can't see you, but I'm
No.
glad you're here. Good to hear you.
Hi,
I have
Um,
a question. I have a question, Rick, before,
Yeah.
because I know what we move into first with the approval of the minutes. Since yours truly hasn't had a chance to type up last month, can we table that for approval till the next meeting? I don't know how that works.
That'll be fine, Cheryl. Once we get to that agenda item, we'll just go ahead and take that
Okay.
action. Okay, good.
Perfect, thanks.
The first order of business tonight is public participation. Is there anybody out there that would like to address the commission? Raise your hand and you're free to go.
I do
Oh.
not see hands or any messages in the chat.
Okay, thank you, John. So hearing none, we'll move on. The approval of the minutes, August 10th, 2022. Cheryl, go right ahead.
I'd like to make a motion to table the approval of the minutes until our next month's meeting.
Anybody want to second it?
I'll second that.
Thanks,
Okay,
Bill.
we got a second. All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Just for the minutes, that was actually Matt Clark that seconded.
Oh, okay. Thank
Oh,
you.
sorry. Thanks, John.
So it would be moved by Cheryl, seconded by Matt Clark, and all in favor. Great. So we'll move into the commission business for the evening. We do have Planning and Zoning Commission has received a text amendment to the Strategic Development Zone, the SDZ. This is a new zoning regulation that went through several iterations and several public hearings. As I understand it, they wanted to remove indoor storage and warehouse from the permitted uses of a special development zone. The special development zone is a flex zone that can be moved around design commercial or design industrial zones. This flex zone gives the applicant an opportunity to do a brief review for the commission and represent a project plan and ask for a change to the zoning regulations. The way the process works, that's the first step. It never precludes the applicant from having to go to a full special permit. And the beauty from what I have learned is that the special development zone and the special public meeting that follows affords the commission to really amend quite severely, if they wish, the applicant's request. So they could take a large proposal and they could shrink it down. They could amend the parking plan. They could amend the wastewater plan. They could, amend the lighting plan. They could really do quite a few things within this special development zone plus the special permit. So it would be at the special permit level that the Planning and Zoning Commission would be able to amend that application to such a large regard. So we have a large project in town right now that has made application for the special development zone. So this text amendment would not apply to that applicant, but it will apply to any further applicants. So I wanted to open it up to the commission and see if you had any ideas or thoughts about removing the indoor storage and warehouse permitted use.
So that that definitely would affect the Desiato project also, in terms of, I believe, because it's a rail function, that it's going to be used for lay down area for distribution.
Yeah, that's right. And Bill, I also wanted to bring this forward because, Sam Hills had some concern about the special development zone and wanted to, kind of have us review it and take a look at it. And you're right. If this warehouse and indoor storage use was removed with the text amendment, going forward, that's going to impact Desiato's proposal, which Could be quite a mixed use proposal. I mean, that could include indoor storage. It could include light rail, drop-off areas, and utilizing that spur, which, you know, is really an asset to the town. So I think you'd have a significant impact on that property.
Yeah, I mean, the 84 and the rail option and Willington's location. Those are two pluses that, well, for the locality and not only for access to the highway, but access to the rail and then the surrounding 150-mile radius. Got Boston, New York City, and Albany there, and Providence. It's just, and what's going on right now with regards to supply chain and long haul trucking, rail is picking up the slack because they can't find the drivers. It's just one of those. Small package industry is going to continue to grow, and it's going to come by rail or intermodal, and whether that's containers on flatbeds, or it's really going to hurt what I think from a logistics standpoint we could tap into as a town. That's my feeling.
Thank you, Bill. Matt, did you have any thoughts?
Yeah, I'm not quite sure I understand, and I apologize. I didn't read all the materials. I read a little bit about it, but essentially this is removing package handling and package storage or storage facilities from
Right.
the special zoning.
Yeah, indoor storage and warehousing. So that would be removed from the SDZ, that flex zone, that special development zone. So you couldn't apply that special development zone to design industrial and design commercial. So for example, if you wanted to amend the land use in the Phelps Plaza, which is design commercial, you would then apply that special development zone, and you could do several things, obviously with a special permit and full approval of the Planning and Zoning Commission. So there's been a proposal to kind of tweak that special development zone. What I would propose is we could write a letter to Planning and Zoning, whether we oppose or whether we approve of that kind of a text amendment change, or we could do nothing and discuss it. Yeah.
Right. So, of course, what do they call it? The gargantuan gorilla in the room is the 1.5 million square foot warehouse. That wouldn't apply to this application. Would it apply to future second applications for the same people on the same property?
Yes. Yes. So if that text, so kind of the process is going to be, this application is going forward. Planning and Zoning now is going to close the public hearing shortly, and they're going to be able to discuss it and either approve or deny that application. I don't believe they're going to confuse that matter with a text amendment change on the same trail. So they'll do one thing at a time, and then they'll go to the text amendment and have a hearing. Yeah.
And so are there any other kinds of uses that would not be permitted under the special application process, or are we just singling out warehouses essentially?
Right, singling out warehouses, right. That in essence what they're doing. Some of the other uses are mixed use, medical offices, event facilities, indoor recreation, multifamily, places of assembly, business offices, distilleries, restaurants. Yeah.
Yeah, my comment would be that, is it really the fact that it's a warehouse that's an issue, or is it really the size of the thing? Maybe what we should consider or think about is not so much removing warehousing from the STZ, but rather limiting the scope or size of applications that can be made under the STZ.
Yeah, I mean, a square footage limitation, you know, rather than 1.5 million square feet, you know, you could bring it in as a smaller package. Yeah.
And actually, a case can be made that, hey, listen, for something that large, it really should go through the whole process without going for a 30%, a 30%, application. You understand what I'm saying?
Right. Yeah. I do. So, I mean, you know, when you play around with the text amendment, I mean, just, taking one particular use like that out of it, you're going to impact the whole town, you know, and as Bill says, you know, we've been working very hard in the Desiato, project. I mean, we brought in, a new owner there now, and they're trying to clean up the site and reclaim it. And they will probably eventually end up putting some sort of a warehouse on that rail.
Right.
So when we thought through the special development zone, you know, that was really the intent of doing it, was to allow something like Desiato to utilize that flex zone and stick it on that property. Obviously, all the time realizing that you still have to get that special permit through planning and zoning. Yeah,
Right.
yeah, which is restrictive, you know, I mean, that warehouse is gonna, I mean, you know, eventually that 1.5 million square feet, you know, the Planning and Zoning Commission can, you know, constrain that applicant, you know, where it maybe is more appropriate for that site. So they certainly have the ability to do that. But you know, the question of the special development district or zone is applicable to projects in town, like the Desiato, you know, site. Cheryl, any thoughts?
No, I was going to actually say exactly the same thing that Matt alluded to at the end of his comments. Not alluded, but you actually said it, Matt, was that I don't think I would be opposed to the change. It's just the size of what's being proposed is, I think, what's scaring everybody. So, I mean, that what they're proposing is humongous. I mean, that would really be my only comment, like, because I don't want to impede any future businesses, you know what I mean? And like you said, everyone's been working really hard to allow Desiato to go forward with what they want to do. I wouldn't want to impede that, but I also don't want, you know, something 4 times the size of Buckland Hill in Willington either. So, you know, and I'm sure you guys have heard it all. I mean, it's been all over everywhere. So that would be my only comment, is I was going to say exactly the same thing Matt did at the end of his comments.
I mean, and also legally, it just makes sense. I mean, it's one thing to say that we want to have a full approval process for very, very large projects. That makes sense. It makes less sense to say we want a full approval process with no STZ just for this class of business.
Right.
Just,
Yeah, I mean, interesting. So why don't we, yeah, go ahead.
How would it be handled if it was 1.5 million square foot that was owned and operated by 4 or 5 different companies? You know, you have a development company representing a project. The occupants might be 4 or 5 owners splitting it up, and now you have yourself 400,000 square feet owned and occupied by 4 different owners, big box companies, manufacturers, etc. You know, we're splitting hairs here. I understand what I'm saying, but that could happen. Well, say you limit it to 400,000 square feet, and the developer puts up 1.5 million, and he sells it, or it's occupied by 4 different entities. Know what I'm saying?
Yeah, the land use bill is going to be the same. I mean, whether it's, you know, 1 or 10 tenants in that space. I mean, the change of zone and the special permit are going to be the same process, no matter what that tenant is. So I don't think that would change it.
Well, the reason I bring that up is we're going to end up prohibiting interest. Scaring's not the word, but what ends up is the task is too hard to justify not only the investment but the time to do it. I mean, what's the square footage of the RPS, now FedEx building? Any idea?
Yeah, I
Just
don't
south
know.
of 300.
Oh, hi, Mike. Yeah, thank you.
That's over 300,000.
It's just south of 300,000.
That's warehousing, distribution. They're laying product down right now. The Desiato property is being looked at by the railroad has an interested party looking at it, and it's someone who moves product today internationally in North America, but they want to, because of the condition of the trucking industry today, and their market share is probably growing anywhere between 5 and 7% a year. And they're looking to put up a distribution center in the Northeast that would allow them to continue to grow their market share. And they are actively looking at the Desiato site as we talk. So we really need to be careful here, because you once asked myself if I would do a project, and I had a lot of unknowns with regards to, did the town really want me, and am I going to spend a lot of money up front in terms of the engineering and the sewage and the water level and et cetera, and knowing that the town really didn't want me there or was going to take too much time versus how much time I had to do it, and I'd walk. I would, and I think Matt had asked me that question going back 3 or 4 meetings ago. So we need to be real careful here on not making it. I mean, I remember when they put roadway, RPS put that FedEx building, and then FedEx took it over, but they took 15 years to finally get the permitting to do that. And in the environment that we're in right now, because of what's going on with the small package industry, the price of fuel, etc., it's a hot time right now. I'm advocating that we're splitting hairs on a project, and I understand that. But the timing is right on the project right now, and if it's something that Download doesn't want to do, we shouldn't do it.
Yeah, before I go to Matt, it's interesting. I mean, it meets with the plan of conservation and development. I mean, that's where, obviously over the last couple of decades, looking at economic development in town, where we come from is a town with a, declining grand list, based on other surrounding municipalities, declining population. The town is dying, so you the plan of conservation and development is that roadmap for the town to say, okay, development along the 84 corridor. Yeah, I mean, it's the 84 corridor. I mean, where else do you want to put that? But Matt, I know that you had a comment.
Oh, no, I apologize. I've just been nodding. I really don't have anything to add.
Thank you. Cheryl, anything?
No, I don't have anything further.
Okay.
One of the things, thanks for sharing that this afternoon, Rick. One of the items there, where the hell is it? Supporting material, item number 3. And it goes on to say additional materials, item number 4. And 4C, a municipal fiscal impact analysis prepared by a qualified professional, which will cover the following factors. First factor, the property and other municipal tax and fee revenue that may be generated. I think it's almost time that we either approach the selectmen or the finance committee and ask them for a pro forma over the next 5 to 10 years of where the town actually sits today versus its responsibilities versus its capital program versus the new school that they're talking about. With the population growth or lack of growth where it's at, and what they see over the next 5 to 10 years, that our mill rate increases will be just to support today's activities. I mean, I think if we're really going to look at this from a 30,000 foot level, we need to understand what are the actual financial needs of the town over the next 5 to 10 years. I mean,
Yeah,
just makes sense. Go ahead.
Yeah, you mentioned that last
Yeah.
time, Bill, and I have to agree with you. I think that the Economic Development Commission can reach out and to other groups in town, most notably the Board of Selectmen. That's where that should happen. And that's where the policy should be. But I've been going to these meetings for town government for what, 4 years or something like that. And I've never seen a discussion, anything approaching looking at strategically where we are, what the future holds, what we project for a grand list, what actions we be taking as a town government. Nothing like that has ever happened, and it is sorely needed. I don't think the economic development.
It is because, you know, as Rick said earlier, 85% of our households in the town right now are occupied by 2 people.
Yeah.
That's a scary percentage.
No one looks at any of that data or that information. They just simply, you know, they total up what they think the expenses are going to be, and then they argue about, you know, how we're going to do it. So I think that conversation needs to take place, and I would support a communication from the Economic Development Commission to the Board of Selectmen indicating that we would support a process like this so that we have a good understanding of where economically that the town needs to go from a strategic planning perspective to meet the needs of residents in the future. So,
yeah, I mean, you could put pro forma projections out there at today's requirements and understand with inflation what the needs will be. I mean, when I was on the Board of Finance, I mean, we had capital projects that we knew we had to do that couldn't be funded, and now not only with the new school, but sooner or later we're going to have our own fire department because the volunteers are lacking. And you know, that's an employment situation, and there's just a lot of things that I think they could put a pro forma budget together, mapping out over the next 5 to 10 years what our costs will be, and sharing that information with people might make this project look a little bit easier to accept or not accept. I think it has to be part of the decision criteria.
Yeah, or it just provides a context for people to evaluate things. And right now it's just a black box. So, and no one's looking to the future. But anyway, I think we're off of the subject of that Rick introduced. But you know, like I said, I would definitely support a communication indicating that we have a need for that in town, and that would help economic development fulfill our mission. So we have an idea of what the scope needs to be.
Yeah, where are we headed? You know. Yeah, right. Well, why don't we table it? You know, it gives us something to kind of think about, and maybe we can fashion some sort of a motion to either the Board of Finance, Board of Selectmen, you know, something that makes sense. You know, see if we can push some policy decisions. I think that makes a lot of sense. I mean, here we sit as a small town, you know, cradled by 84 and Yukon on the other side. You know, Yukon's not really helping us. 84 is not really helping us. So, you know, we got to kind of figure out where we want to go with this thing. Yeah, good idea.
Yeah, final note. One of the, and I always remember talking to RPS, Roadway Package Services, and one of the reasons why they picked Willington was a couple of main reasons, which I won't go into, but was the availability of part-time help from Yukon. Because the logistics flow and the package, and it's nighttime work, and students always needed money, and it was just, you know, one of those things you never think about. You just say to yourself, wow, you know, that makes sense. But these are good discussions to have, and if our mission statement is to advise the town and of economic development, following the guidelines of what the town wants, you have to bring the financial needs of the town into consideration over the next 5 to 10 years too. So I think these are good conversations to have.
Yeah, thank you, Bill. Cheryl, any final thoughts on this agenda item?
No, sir.
Thank you. Matt, anything else?
No, I'm good.
Okay, so why don't we table what agenda? This is this would be Commission Business 4A, the PZC text amendment. We'll table that for the next meeting. Okay, the ARPA update. We've got John and Mike. Oh, I'm sorry, Matt, go ahead.
I'm sorry, don't mean to interrupt, but before we move on to the next thing, can we put an agenda item next week to discuss or act on some kind of a recommendation to the selectmen of the Board of Finance for some kind of a process for looking forward?
Yep.
All right. Thanks.
Sounds good, Matt. Yep, we'll do that.
Thanks.
Okay, the ARPA update, Mike or John?
Okay, so it's in very brief. We spent the last bit of time going through the proposed contract between the town and the grant recipients for the BRIG program. I also spent some time reaching out to those additional grantees that I just wanted to verify their business status and was satisfied about those things. We drafted a contract, got it reviewed by our attorney, and are ready, I think, at the end of this week to formally notify the awardees that they will be getting grants and give them the contracts to review and sign. So we'll be starting to spend down the money and get contracts in within a week or two.
Great, thank you for your work on that, John. Appreciate it. And Mike, Matt or Cheryl or Bill, any questions for John and Mike?
No, I was just
No,
going
I'm
to say
good.
the same thing to the two boys, like, nice job. I mean, I know you guys worked really hard on that, so thank you.
Well, Mike's a good boy.
I know that. I know that.
Ditto, Cheryl.
Well, thanks for doing the work on that. I mean, it was a lot of work. Yeah, appreciate it. So now we're going to have some funds to spend. You know, I mean, thinking through this ARPA future projects, it didn't make sense to open up another grant. But I think that what we'll do is return the money back, or let's have this discussion about returning the money back to the ARPA Commission, and then see if we can put forth some sort of a proposal that makes sense for economic development in the town. What I was thinking about was a study of the South Willington Village for subsurface septic, you know, and water. See if we could do something like that. But I wanted to open it up to the committee and see what your thoughts are. Firstly, how much will we have, Mike or John? Do you know?
I think probably between 75 and 90,000.
Okay, so we'll return 75 to 90,000 back to the committee, and then we can, you know, propose another grant application to the committee.
So that'll still be earmarked for us, Rick?
Well,
I
it
just
won't
want to
be.
try to understand, like, not earmarked, but you know what I'm trying to ask.
Right, it's not earmarked for us because that request and application we made to the ARPA committee was just for the business grant program.
Okay.
So if I'm incorrect, John or Mike, correct me, but I think we'll have to give the money back. But that will not preclude us from quickly making an application back to the committee, you know, to tie up those funds.
Okay.
Right,
Thank you.
that's exactly right. They've allocated 300 to the EDC's proposal. We don't need the full thing, so we're going to return the remainder and ask for a reallocation, essentially.
Okay. Thanks, John.
And I would just add that right now the town doesn't have the full second tranche of funding actually in hand. So the ARPA Commission is not accepting additional applications because we want to make sure that we don't commit funds. You know, we kind of want to see where things are. A lot of projects have come in under budget. So there are a lot of applications that came through and returned funding. So as of now, things have sort of paused. So there's a bit of time the commission has here to think about if you want to request funds for other things, because the application process is not opened again.
Mike, are there other towns that have had the same process and ended up using the funds?
For the-
Something different.
I don't know. I mean, there are a lot of towns that have done business grants. There are other towns that have gone through the process the same way. I don't know what they've done as far as reallocating unspent funds and how they've dealt with that, by virtue of the fact that I think a lot of the projects are longer term, so we haven't seen that happen yet. But you know what, it remains to be seen if where the town is from a requests perspective. Right now, we haven't been in a position where we've had a lot more requests than the town has had money. So the commission has not had to make a ton of really hard decisions, I guess is the way to put it. But now that we're getting down to the last bit of the second set of funds, those decisions are going to become more difficult because there's less in the pot.
Speaking of less in the pot, would it be advantageous, Mike, to have a proposal ready when we give back money to ARPA, and at the same time say we'd like to make an application?
I personally think that's the way to go. I just think that shows that we're thinking about the most effective way to use these funds.
Rick, what can you help me understand a little bit more about what you're thinking about for South Village? You're on mute.
There's two things, Matt, that have bothered me personally for decades. That's the town office building area, and South Willington Village. So we can never really figure out where the town is. I mean, are we in South Willington Village? Are we at the town office building? And where do we put that, and how do we study it, and how do we enhance that area per se? What do we do with center school? What do we do with hall school? So we've got a decision points here in two places, that being the town offices, and that being Village Hill and River Road. And what do we do, and how do we plan that out? I mean, we've done a lot of work on the old South Willington Village. I mean, we changed the zone there, so now you can have mixed use. You went from a residential zone to more of a commercial zone. We've seen some activity starting to brew down there. Do we then look at subsurface septic systems, and do we look at water, or do we look at the town offices and figure out what we do with the town offices, and how do we enhance the infrastructure there? So that's what I'm thinking about, Matt.
Yeah, as a new resident of Willington for 5 years, 6 years now, so it struck me that we really don't have, most towns and cities have a center. We don't. We have a green, which is wonderful, and I love it a lot. And then we have a weird town office building off, there was an old factory apparently. And then we have the South Willington, and then we have Phelps Plaza. It's like there's a little bit of planning for center of gravity in terms of municipal services and commercial would be advantageous. I'm not quite sure what you mean, Rick. Excuse me for not being intelligent on this, but by subsurface sewer, leach field, what does that mean?
Right. So if you were going to develop the South Willington Village District, they just don't have the septic and sewage system or water infrastructure to support additional residential housing, a higher level of commercial activity. You couldn't take a decent sized commercial, building with residential housing and place it there without doing that. So no developer is going to come in and look at that and think that they're going to do that work. I mean, we really have to set the table for it. Now, that could just be as simple as doing, the light engineering, surveying and engineering work, a little bit of subsurface work, identifying uses and identifying capacity there. So that's kind of what I'm thinking.
That's really interesting. And that is exactly what Congress had in mind when they did ARPA to begin with. It wasn't buying everything that a town would ever need. It had specific uses, and one of them was water pollution control. And sewer systems are water pollution control.
So maybe we could table it and we could think over the last month of what maybe a proposal could look like. I'll try to bring it back to the commission, and so I have something a little bit more concrete in mind. And when I think about this, I don't want to tell anybody what to do. I think we need to open this up and have maybe the town kind of tell the town people kind of tell us, look, why don't you look over here? This is very interesting. This might generate, some organic growth in town that we really like. So
yeah. Agreed.
Without that planning piece, in place, you really, you don't know where you're going, so. Good, so we'll table it and we'll bring it back. But before I do that, Cheryl or Bill, any thoughts on this?
No, I'm good.
I'll just kind of reinforce what Matt said. We had brought on a consultant from another town, I don't know, a couple of years ago, and he asked us where the center of town was. We all kind of looked at each other, Matt. We didn't know.
I think to me, the center of town is the green, and that's one of the reasons why I moved here. It's just wonderful. But then it just dissipates. It's like, it's odd, it's weird, different. And it's okay, but just different.
Okay, great. So we'll table that we'll put that on as an agenda item for the next meeting. Brings us to Willington signage update. I did post something on the Facebook page asking for some ideas about Willington signage. I didn't get any responses, Matt.
Thank you.
Sorry.
I sent Mike a couple pictures just before this meeting.
I'm not on Facebook, right?
Okay.
I don't want to be known as last minute Charlie, but it was at the last minute that I sent those over, and there's two pictures there. One is
You want me to show them?
Yeah, you can, sure, that'd be great. One is a wood sign, carved wood sign, and that is there's one option that we have, and the other one is a metal sign, metal post sign. And I think what we were thinking about, sorry, they're not side by side. So go down slightly. That's wood. That's the Wood Ashford sign. Welcome to 1714. By the way, are we older than them? I think we're 1712, aren't we?
I don't know. Yeah.
Anyway, okay. So yeah, there's your carved sign, and then you go, and that's good. It's I think they don't last quite as long, and they need a little more maintenance and upkeep. And then if you go up a little bit, that's a metal sign. That's not a town sign, but that's actually St. Clement's Marina. So that's St. Clement's. That's in my hometown, actually, Cobalt, right down the street from where I grew up. And so there's a double post metal sign, and it, they cost a little bit more, I think, and they last longer. And I think what we want to be able to do is just, say, not thinking about these colors, not thinking about the design of it, but this is an example of a metal sign. That's an example of a wooden sign. Here's about how much each option would cost each. Overall, which one's more appealing? What do you think about it? I'm not surprised we got no response from the Facebook thing that you did, Rick. I don't think anybody really cares. I think the people that care are the people that are involved. So other boards, other commissions, the selectmen, the people who are involved in town. Those are the folks that would actually care about that. We have a mailing list, Mike. We have a mailing list of involved people, if you will, right?
Yeah. And I was going to say, I could certainly add this to the discussion of a future P&Z agenda. Obviously, they regulate signage. They might have thoughts. The other thing you might get, asking for comments is hard. One thing that we know is easy to get our opinions. And so if you post two things and ask them to vote on which they prefer, or something that's sort of a yes or no, it might be easier. You can do polling on Facebook. So when we firm it up, we can figure out if there's another way to ping people, but we do have an email list.
Yeah, I mean, I'd be interested in that. I mean, and you're right, opinions are like feet, everybody has them, and they all stink. And, that's okay. A lot of people are really invested in our small town, and I think that they would have an opinion about what they want to do. So I would suggest that if we do something Facebook or stream, if you will, that we also reach out directly to involved individuals and get their opinions. I'd be happy to look at those and decipher the comments and things like that.
Yeah, what was the cost, Matt, do you know, on those signs?
I apologize, I'd have to look it up.
Okay,
The folder's way over there. So I think, yeah, don't quote me. I think it was like $1,200 or something. I can't remember.
okay. So we'll keep it on the agenda and we won't.
Yeah, I think getting input from the residents would be a great idea, especially they'll see the activities and the involvement, take a little bit of ownership, but don't make it too pretty because being from the city, they have a tendency to disappear.
The Ashford sign was about $2,000 each, but that was a good, 5 or 6 months ago, and we've had a lot of inflation, so.
Okay. All right, great. So why don't we, do you have any suggestions about moving forward, or what do you think?
I think we would want to gather some input, and that would be, putting that out there in an email or a Survey Monkey kind of thing to our mailing list. It says we have metal and we have wood, carved wood.
What would you like?
What would you like, and tell us why. And to tell us why is the most important part. I mean, I could have put Mansfield in there. They have their brand new signs. I thought those were a bit too pretentious for Willington. Okay,
So could you send those to me, Matt? And I'd be happy to email Board of Finance, Planning and Zoning, Inland Wetlands, and the whole group. Thank you.
My computer is buzzing, so if I fall off, it's because of technical difficulties.
So we'll keep that on the agenda also.
Thank you.
Any comments, Cheryl? Any comments on the sign?
No, I liked the wooden one personally, but that's just my own opinion, Matt. And we were incorporated in May 1727.
Oh, 1727. That's okay. Great. Thank you.
Google's an amazing thing.
And,
I looked it up when you were questioning it. I'm like, that's a good question. I wonder when we were incorporated. Yeah.
Okay.
Thanks, Cheryl. Bill, any comments?
No, I think I originally had said wooden one, but I was serious about that. A lot of times when it's too nice, they disappear. So you got to take that into consideration.
All right, great. So we'll keep that on the agenda. All right, anything else? We've got reports and correspondence from Mike and John. Anything?
Don't have anything beyond the
Nothing
items
for me.
that are on the agenda.
Yeah, nothing from me.
The one thing I had for John and Mike, I don't know if it's at all possible that we could get a recording secretary. I don't know what your thoughts are on that.
I can look to see. I know that those are positions that we struggle to fill, or the town has struggled to fill, just because of the hours and pay and other things. But we can look into whether or not it was in the budget. I know it used to be.
Great, thank you.
See what we can do.
Good.
Yeah, I'm gonna try. I told all you guys, you saw my email back. Like, I'm gonna try to keep doing the minutes, but work is just insane like it is for everybody else. And it's not gonna get better, unfortunately. As we're coming out of COVID, it's gonna get busier and busier. And right now I'm doing 50 to 60 hours a week. So
Yep.
it's absolutely insane.
Well, thank you for your participation, Cheryl. Really appreciate it.
Amen.
All right, do we want to take comments from the public? It's not on our agenda. We had it at the beginning of the meeting, but anybody from the public wish to address the commission?
Hey, it's Nick Keller, 49 Myrtle. I just wanted to say, I would like to see the warehouse scratched or recommended to be scratched from the SDZ. I know there's a little bit of discussion there. Also, I don't know at what level the discussions we had with the ARPA money, if it could even go to the town for the propane tanks. I don't know if that's really in your ballpark to recommend that, but I hear that there's some extra funds there and they're looking at an $18,000 expense. So that's all I have. Thanks.
Thank you, Mr. Tella. Anybody else? Okay, hearing none. Last call from the group. Hearing none. I
Matt,
think,
Matt, right here.
oh, Matt, yeah, go ahead.
Did we ask to have board concerns put on our agenda? That was never on any of our agendas before. And here, just-
No, I think the board, what was that? Remarks by commissioners, or what one are you referring to,
Mark,
Matt?
the commissioner.
I don't know if that was on there or not. Mike, was that a new agenda item?
No,
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 I think that's been there, right?
that's a placeholder, yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
No, it's, so I looked at the last two.
Okay,
I wasn't on the last two. So. I don't know why it's there. I don't remember ever having that on any of our agendas before. I've been a member for what, 6 months, a year, or something like that. I don't see that. There's no reason for that. I mean, we have an agenda. We follow the agenda. We comment, we talk. We have wide-ranging discussions on this commission. I don't see a reason for that. So,
no reason to go around the horn.
no,
Yeah, we kind of do it anyways, right?
yeah, I don't understand what the purpose is.
Yeah. I mean, we can strike it. Cheryl, any thoughts?
Nope.
I read the notes on the August Board of Selectmen meetings, and they were talking about a 5:30 p.m. limit for commissions to meet as a latest possible time for the meetings to meet. And I not tell you, 5:30 would be difficult for me.
Yeah, there had been a proposal that had been forwarded to the Board of Selectmen, but they haven't acted upon it, Bill.
Okay.
I mean, my thoughts about that is it's difficult to do site walks too. Obviously, very helpful for land use applications.
So that is just being considered. It's not something that they're going to do, or
Yeah, that's correct. Yep.
Thank you.
Hey, Rick,
Oh, Ralph, yeah, go ahead.
okay, the 5:30 PM was the earliest that a
Oh, I
town,
thought that was. I must have read that wrong. I thought it was the latest.
no. And the reasoning behind it is that most people would be, at least first shift people would be off work and be able to attend meetings. A mid-afternoon meeting is difficult for a lot of regular working stiffs to attend unless you're doing second shift or third shift. I don't think it's going to go anywhere, just judging from the reaction from the Board of Selectmen.
Thank you, Ralph. I read that wrong. I apologize.
No worries.
Thank you, Mr. Chulis. Any other comments? Okay, hearing none, we will adjourn at 7:20 p.m. Thank you very much, folks.
Thank you.
Thanks, guys.
Have a great night.
Thank
Bye.
you.